my name is Courtney, and I'm a Dungeon Master for a 5th edition homebrew campaign starring 5 wonderful but very different characters. There is Dayon, the human monk, Istar, the high elf fey warlock, Lausian, the wood elf ranger, Sumtiel, the half-elf druid, and Newt, the dwarven fighter. While they are all wonderful characters and wonderful players, I am not going to talk about them at all. Instead, I would like to talk about all of the other characters in the game, that is, the NPCs. Why do I want to talk about NPCs? Because NPCs are actually a really important part of your campaign. Unless your players are playing in a desolate wasteland where they're the only survivors, NPCs make up about 99% of your population. NPCs are a great tool in the DM's toolbox. You can use them to guide players to plot points, lead them into traps, and most of the time it is an NPC giving the players the quest in the first place. Depending on how your players interact with the NPCs, they can become allies, enemies, friends, lovers, and especially in a campaign that is homebrew where the plot line can be a little more fluid and influenced by the decisions that the players make, NPCs can have a huge effect on how it all plays out in the end. For example, in the first town in my campaign, there is a young half-elf druid woman who I created only as a backstory piece for one of the other NPCs. He needed to be a father just to explain some of his protective nature and stuff, so she was supposed to be his daughter. That was the only reason I created her, that was the only reason she was supposed to exist at all, and that was all she was supposed to do, was just hide in the house and be a quiet little daughter. But one of my players, Dayon, caught sight of her and asked me, "Is she cute?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "She's gonna fall in love with me." And she did. And he fell in love with her. And then through a series of events, she's now working with the villain against the PCs. Most everybody hates her except Dayon, who's still in love with her, and it has totally affected the way my campaign has gone. The PCs don't approach the villain the same way that they used to. The PCs' relationships with each other have changed because of the way that Dayon feels about this NPC and the way everybody else feels about this NPC. The villain's plots have all shifted around this NPC because now he has this new ally that he wasn't originally supposed to have. That's how one NPC totally rewrote my plot for my campaign, which is terrifying, but also really freaking cool. And that is why I want to talk about NPCs with you. I want to help other DMs create interesting NPCs that your players are going to want to interact with and that they might even remember once they leave the town. Because if your players are anything like mine, they don't take any notes at all. How am I going to do that? I'm going to tell you about NPCs that I have created for my campaign. I'm also going to provide you with character sheets, stats, and any other information you might need to put them in your own campaign should you choose to do so. Because I know the less work that you have to do, the better. But you can always create your own character sheets if you want. It's your game. Do whatever fits best. Which brings me to my final point. My NPCs were created for my world and my campaign and my plotline, so they may not fit perfectly into your campaign, your world, your plotline. That's fine. You can change them. I don't care. I'm not going to be offended. I'm glad that I helped inspire you in any way at all. Take whatever you want, whether it's just a name or a backstory or a character description. Do whatever you need. I'm glad I could help. If that sounds like something that's going to be interesting or helpful to you, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to put up my first NPC story next week. Until then,